questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch alongs to the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hope you're well. We're back for another RHEA presser, and obviously this presser is just before the Newcastle game tomorrow. It's going to be a difficult game, 100%. But hopefully we can, replicate what we did at Old Trafford, at St James's Park. But let's get into it. So first things first. He was asked about the fact that we have a lot of injuries. Is there better news? And immediately Roy said, yes, it's better news. Although we lost James Tompkins yesterday to a calf injury. He's had a scan and we hope it's not serious. It's a shame because he would have been available. We're down to Elise, Eze and Henderson, who have been injured for a period of time. And also Jeffrey Schlupp has not recovered for this game. The positive is that Nathan Ferguson has had a couple of games playing for the under-23s. So, you know what? We went into the international break with about 10 injuries, and I think we might be down to 4 or 5. So we've got half of that back. Obviously, the biggest news comes with, I believe both Czech and Lerma are back, which is massive. Hopefully, they're both fit enough to start, or at least one of them is. I think Roy Hughes has done a great job, obviously deputising. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to start, maybe with Czech, and then maybe Lower comes on later on in the game. But it is just much more positive news on the injury front. Just doesn't help that the next 2 games are obviously Newcastle away and Tottenham at home. So yeah, we just have to wait and see with those games. Roy was asked, is there any time frame on Elise, Eze or Henderson? And he said, for Tompkins, I can't because he's having the scan today. But he was training really well. The others are making good progress, but it's difficult to put an ETA because the doctors are cautious of when they can be allowed back in. It's a sort of injury that's difficult to test, but if you don't get the test to the nth degree, when you throw them in, you could make it worse. But yes, it's getting closer. So basically, I think Roy, especially with what happened with Elise and he had a setback, I don't think Roy is going to want to rush them back, even though he really wants, especially Elise and Eze back, 100%. But as you know, like, especially with muscle injuries, you don't really want a recurring injury because then that can set a player back a bit longer than the time they're already off for. So, we have to just kind of wait and see with those injuries and see how their development comes along. But it's good to know that they are getting closer. Obviously, the rumor is with Elise that he could potentially be back for the Spurs game, but we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on that. He was then asked about Tonali. Now, this is one of a few questions where I thought, why are you asking this question? But anyway, the question was asked. Tonali can play. What's your reaction to this news? Now, for me, I'll just say what I'm thinking first before I tell you what Roy said. What's that got any relevance to us? Look, he's obviously going to face a ban at some point. Obviously, the whole betting scandal, it's quite prevalent in football and it's prevalent in sports in general, But obviously, that is definitely a question you should really be asking Eddie Howe or the Newcastle contingent. It definitely won't really affect Roy. Like, I guess maybe it's a case of, look, he's a good player, he might be able to play, but it is what it is, That's not really going to affect how we shape up or we approach a game. We just have to approach the game anyway. But here's what Roy said. I don't have any reaction. It has nothing to do with me. I feel for him and for Newcastle as they've paid a lot of money for him and knowing that he may not be able to play for a substantial amount of time. it's a difficult one for the club to deal with, but it doesn't affect us. Exactly that. And obviously big up Rush in the chat. It is obviously a difficult one to deal with, for them. But either way, I think what Roy Hodgson would have done is that he would have prepared for this game, expecting Tonali to play. And then obviously he doesn't play, we would have had a backup plan based on whatever midfielder may have come in. I believe Joe Linton might be back. Longstaff has been playing decent this season. So, yeah, would have to wait and see. And apologies if you heard that. How much of a problem is betting in football? Well, Roy says, we know that gambling is a problem in society. In general, we don't help ourselves by promoting it. It's a problem we should take more seriously, like drugs and alcohol. And I'm glad he mentioned that. The fact that we don't help it by promoting it. Now, I know obviously the league, I believe it's next season, where they're banning all sort of sponsorship on jerseys and whatnot. But gambling and betting is all over the game, and it's not just football. It's in all sports. It's everywhere. It's advertised. It's on billboards. Like you'll see Sky Bet or Bet365 or any of those companies. They're plastered all over the gaff. So yes, it's not helped by the fact that it's promoted so much in sport. Lieutenant, he said 3 games against Newcastle and they were all 0-0, even the Carabao Cup game, which obviously, unfortunately, we lost on penalties. The reporter kind of jokes and goes, "Go Fest this weekend?" Well, Roy's response was both clubs are very organised defensively, very hard to score against. Sometimes chances are not taken too, so we've got to obviously bear that in mind. As much as there's good defences, that maybe it could be a game where it could have been 3-4 goals scored, but the chances weren't taken. Neither side is particularly defensively minded. Newcastle will look to the 8 goals they scored, and he was referring to the Sheffield United game, and say they're not defensively minded, and we're not defensively minded either. You're only as good as your opponents allow you to be, and we're going to have to work very hard if we're going to create chances against this Newcastle side. It's going to be a difficult game, very difficult game. They're very organised, and we're going to have to be our best to get anything from St James's Park. You defended very well against Manchester United. Can you repeat this? So I said, I like to think so, but we shouldn't project that game onto this game. So basically saying, just because we defended very well against Man United, we shouldn't go there with an expectancy to do the same thing. It's obviously going to be a completely different game, and we'll have to make sure that we're up for it. We're capable of doing so, but we'll have to produce the football we want to see. Next up, what's your thoughts on what's going on at Newcastle with the money? And that's another strange question. See, I don't know if they were trying to get him to bite, because obviously, Roy in the past was very vocal about the lack of spending or the lack of players coming in the window. And obviously, once the window had shut, Roy didn't mention it again. So I don't know if they were trying to get him to bite. But here was Roy's response. He said, any success is not due to him splashing huge amounts of money. Yes, players cost a bit these days, but he's bought very wisely and built good team who suit the philosophy. They're not all superstars. He's done an amazing job because they were fighting relegation and now they're in the Champions League. And that is absolutely spot on. Irregardless of the money factor, I mean, obviously it might have been a good motivation for them. But like you said, they haven't splashed crazy amounts. I mean, I think Isak was in the 60s. I think Tonali might have been around the same, but it's not like they've gone and bought a whole new 11. They've kind of they've kept the foundation of the squad that they had, and they've just built parts around it, so they've done very well. But I think the credit has to obviously go to Eddie Howe and his team, because they're the reason. Literally, Newcastle were a goner. It was so early to say it, but they were finished. They were so bad. I believe it was under Bruce at the time, and he came in and he absolutely turned their season around. So Ray was he was right in saying it's not really a money factor with Newcastle. He was just told that 7 points from 12 have come on the road. So 7 of our points out of the 12 have come away from home. How have you managed that? So Roy replied, I don't tally the home and away points. It must be that we've played well away from home. We don't approach home and away games differently. We do tailor things based on the different teams we were playing, but we just need the form to be good home and away. And I mean, he says something else a bit later on in the next question, but was it the next question? Well, a question later on, but he was referring to the fact that we could have potentially picked up a few more points here, there, and elsewhere. He was then told that it was Newcastle's best start to a season since 2011. How impressive is that? Now, once again, it's kind of like you kind of answered that, previously regarding the whole them spending money. And it's just like, come on, guys. Like, if you have one person's asked the question, don't ask the same question, but in a different way. It's the same question. So he replied, they finished last season brilliantly. They were brilliant last year. They even had to dig in towards the end because the Champions League was slipping away. And they did have a bit of a ropey period towards the end of last season, but they managed to obviously secure Champions League football. After losing the first 2 games, Eddie won't be disappointed with their 13 points. And they did have a tough start this season. And now they're on 13 points. And they've kind of like been on an upward trajectory, He was then asked, also, you've had a good run since last season. What would you say is the secret for that? And here's where he added a bit more to what I was saying before. He said, we could have done more if we weren't hit by the injury crisis. Many teams wouldn't like to lose their most influential players. In that respect, we've had to rely on the guys who got us through last year, and hopefully life will be easier when they return, especially in the attacking areas. And yeah, you know what? We've not been fortunate with any injuries this season. It's been crazy, but to pick up 12 points, I think we've done a good job. We're just hopefully by the time the players come back, we can actually then hopefully pick up a bit of form, build some momentum, and pick up some more points. I know as fans we're definitely disappointed with especially the Fulham game at home. The Forest game at home, I guess it was a bit understandable due to the circumstances, but let's just hypothetically say that's an extra 4 points there. 16 points ain't bad, but 12 is a good start considering everything we've been going through. Big up Cody. He says, do you see us holding to the 0-0 result? Honestly, it looks like the best possible outcome for us. I will take a 0-0. Honestly, I'll take a 0-0. We're going to have to defend for our lives. Quite similar in a similar manner to United. It's just United defensively weren't great. They had injuries and they just didn't seem to be great. But Newcastle don't strike me as a team that will give us many chances. So if we get away with a 0-0, we've done a good job. Also, do you think we see France against Newcastle tomorrow? I'm going to get onto that one, actually. That's France is mentioned in his presser, so I'll give you my thoughts after I've mentioned what Roy has said. Edward, yeah. It was asked about Edward. Edward has 4 goals already, 5 all last season. What do you put his goal scoring down to? So Roy says, it's a difficult question to answer. It's a silly question. What do people think we do every day? We do train for an hour and a half. We do sit down for meetings. We do analyze video and data and I think Roy effectively was telling that whoever the guy that asked the question was, this is a stupid question. That's what I think Roy was trying to. I think he wanted to tell him, what a silly question to ask me. What do you mean, what's he been doing? What, sitting on his backside and doing nothing? Of course, he's had to work hard to score 4 goals this season. He's had a great start, But I don't know. Anyway, right. The next one was on Matthias França, but I'm going to go to Gay first and then come back to França because I think it would be good to finish up on Matthias França. So when he was asked about Mark Gay regarding England, he said, listen, he's an outstanding centre-back. And like Southgate has said, he's a very good player. Alongside Joachim Andersen, they've been a rock. And I'm sure that whenever Gareth selects him, he won't be disappointed. Listen, I won't lie. I was very happy to see Mark get 30 minutes in the 2 games. I was not complaining. We don't need any more injuries to our squad. So, but you know what? He came on, he got an assist. And I'm shameless. I know Harry Kane had to do lots of work when the ball arrived at his feet, but it's a gay assist. And not only that, the way he controlled the ball from Pickford, unbelievable. Like, it was absolutely fizzed at him, and he just brought it down with such ease. You know, brought it down with such ease. Big up Damo as well. It says, are all trains cancelled to Newcastle? I don't know. I'm not going myself. JC and the chairman are, but that's something to look into, actually. That's interesting. Because I believe there is a championship game that is a championship game that's cancelled. Yeah, Rotherham Ipswich is cancelled. You know, there is a championship game that is cancelled. But yeah, before you finish up, we're going to discuss Mateus França. You know, let me get the full quote for you, actually, from the website.
I smell it. That's disgusting.
Oh. Good. What?
Cool. All right. Sorry, let me just pull this up. So I had to just make sure I get the correct link. Okay, so Hodgson confirms Mateus França's status pre-Newcastle. And big up John Blackburn in the chat. How you doing, my brother? So here we go. Mateus França has returned to full fitness, and the 19-year-old Brazilian is in contention to make his first appearance in the Crystal Palace matchday squad this weekend against Newcastle. Roy Hodgson has confirmed. He's not injured. He's a candidate. Yeah, Hodgson confirmed. Training is training. We need to see him in games. We have to get him into either the first team, when he's not someone off their perch and gets into the team, or in the substitutes, or watch him in the under-21s game. As far as we're concerned, in the coaching staff, all we've seen is the highlights of his matches with Flamengo. We still wait to see the evidence of him as a player in the team environment, but in training, he's fine. He works hard. He does the right thing. He's coming to terms with the way we try to work, and he's getting to know his teammates. Hodgson also says, Hodgson has been particularly impressed with France's ability to settle into a new country at such a tender age. He's been extremely good in picking up the language so quickly and being able to understand all the things we're saying to him and asking of him, the manager said. His English has improved quicker than I thought, than I was entitled to expect. He's obviously quite bright. When we train, he understands the exercises, the drills, and the information we're giving him. And now it's a question of when he gets his chance to get on the field of play and show how good he is. That's when he'll have to take that chance. That's really what playing football is all about. People shouldn't forget he's 19 years of age. In a week or two, he wouldn't suddenly become Lionel Messi. That's not the way it works. But as a 19-year-old, he's making good practice, as are David Ozo and Jez Saki. So yeah, you know, for me personally, would I see him having any minutes? Now that Jeffrey Schlupp's out as well, I think he might do, you know. I think he might do. How much minutes? I don't know. I'm going to expect 20 minutes or so. All right. I think, I think about 20 minutes max. To be fair, some have said 5, some have said 0. I think it all depends on how the game's going as well, you know, because at the same time, he's coming off of obviously a back injury. Newcastle, a very physical side. I think that might play into Roy Hudson's thoughts as well. So yeah, We'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see. But yeah, other than that, I think that covers everything with the presser. Listen, JC's gonna vlog it tomorrow. He's up there, like I said, with the chairman. Hopefully, anyone who's traveling tomorrow, kind of apparently there's a storm. That will be like, please travel safely, be safe out there. You know, Cody said there 20. Yeah, I think so. I think that'll be a fair amount. To be honest, I think towards the end of the month, I think you might see more regular game time. You know, in my opinion, Francis is going to end up being a legend for Palace. He has all the potential in the world to become a level above Zaha. He's a legendary signing. Mark my words, Switch. Listen, I'm happy with the signing. Honestly, I'm happy. I'm happy that we've addressed that area, and he can also play in the 10 as well. So he's very versatile. Obviously, Roy was not happy. What do you call it? When his training footage got leaked, well, not leaked, released, because I'm sure he wanted to keep a lot of that under wraps. That's probably why we haven't seen a training video for that CCTV this week. We don't know. But yeah, listen, I'm sure once he gets on the pitch and he adapts, I think he's going to be a quality player. You know. Any lives tomorrow, as in like watch-alongs and that? Well, not from me anyway, because I'll be playing football myself. But if that somehow gets called off, then I'll see what I can do. I might jump on the watch-along tomorrow. I'll big up Charlie. But yeah, if that's it, yeah, I think that's it. That should wrap it up for this week's presser. It's good to have football back. It is, although it's a difficult game. As much as it's a difficult game, it's good to have Premier League football back. If we can get any points from these next two games, we've done well. But I'm sure, like, we have to obviously keep an eye open to that Burnley game, and then take it from there. Because I know December as well is very difficult. So yeah, let's hope we just keep picking up the points as we go along. I wish the boys all the best tomorrow. And as always, up the Palace. Here goes.